Aloha and welcome to the Goddess Corner. I'm so excited to be here with the beautiful Jupiter 1111 looking like
Yay.
goddess herself. I wonder who she's going to channel in today. The highest
Mm.
version of herself? Perhaps.
Or the naughty version. We'll see what comes up.
Ooh, I wonder what day it is. Monday? Friday. Freaky Friday. I sure hope the naughty version comes up. Anyway, actually, that's a great idea, the naughty version of
Mhm.
everything. I think we all need that time as goddesses to express and explore and appreciate ourselves in so many ways.
True.
Um, it's been a very interesting week, I would say. I would say most people have had this kind of, this is the feedback I'm getting. Most people are having this heaviness, this droll, this like, ugh, pulling back the slime of the last bit of everything, also while still trying to catch up with this, because there's a little wind up when school starts. Like you can feel it from everybody
Mhm.
after Labor Day, that whole, and here we go again, and we're trying to push this train and we're stepping out of goddess self and into the regular day to day tension building, body freezing, breath stopping levels of humanness. Or, well, I don't want to call it humanness. It's almost like an artificial drudgery brought by the social circumstance right now,
Mhm.
meaning the pandemic. We've got slowdowns and shutdowns. We've got schools. We've got misreporting of information. We are trying to filter as a society what's real, what isn't real, who can we trust, as well as ourselves. Can we even trust ourselves? And so, yes, this is when I'm like, leaning, woo, because safe and secure from all alarm. But yes, it's heavy, folks, and I'm glad we're here together to celebrate the goddess within us. The goddess understands. The goddess takes a deep breath because she knows that there's another thing coming. And
Mhm.
the impatience that our society has brought to us, where we feel so driven, we're constantly trying to accomplish something, that it stops us from being in flow when we all know, I think globally, that something just isn't right still. We're
Right.
not
And
able. Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was when you were talking, it was reminding me eh, there's a different patterns of manifestation when you're working on something. You said like you're working on something. And the third level, the third wall you hit before the major manifestation and you get the multiplication of your harvest is when the cares of this world come in. That's the distractions. And the cares of this world is not like they're bad things, right? You want to take care of your kids. You want to make sure that they get to school on time. You need to, a lot of parents have gone through a lot of great lengths to create these spaces for their children that look like a schoolroom within their house. So they've like had to think through what's going to inspire them. They're going to be here all day, every day, but I have to create a space for them to think and move into that academic thinking, learning mode, not their bedroom, not their kitchen, having to, reinvest maybe some money that they weren't planning on, but they were forced into. And so now they have to pause some of the things because the cares of this world is coming in to choke it out. And that's the thing. It's like they're not all bad. They're not bad things. It's just life. And it's so easy to have those even good cares distract us from breathing, from taking a moment, from having beautiful flowers and just taking a few moments to be like, yes, this brings me so much joy. Like when she was showing me the flowers, I'm like, oh, they're so beautiful. Like just like looking at them brought me joy. And I can't smell them, but I'm having some like memories come in of like smelling those flowers in the past, and I'm like, oh, it's just like sparking up so much joy by looking at them. And that's one of the things that we were talking about earlier, like how that shows up in your body, and really to be cognizant about it, to be aware that a lot of the things are distractions. And in the States, it's like it's political season,
Oh yeah.
that's distracting. The WAP song is distracting. I don't even want to talk about that. Not a fan. It's like all these things that are distracting us, school, all these other things, good things that we should be paying attention to, but distracting nonetheless. And how are we going to reconcile that? What can, especially you're the Hawaiian goddess with the body knowledge. Can you give who's watching some insight on, as the cares of this world is choking out, and some people feel like it's choking out their dreams because they're like, I really wanted to do this, and then they feel, I'm hearing demon wall. So in the before they broke the sound barrier, that's what the pilots would call it, because it will be going so fast, and it will feel as though the plane was going to like burst open and fall apart before they broke the sound barrier. And so they would call that the demon wall, because they just felt like they were hitting something that they couldn't penetrate, and it was keeping them from breaking through. Distractions do that. And it comes up in our body, right? Because they would tense up, and that's what made them pull back. And so when
Mm.
you have all these pressures, when you're moving forward, your body starts telling you something, and then you freak out if you're not in tune with your star player. So when our body starts feeling all that stress, what's your recommendation?
Um, Easy. The first thing you said, of course, and we always talk about that, is breathing. I'm slipping. I'm slipping, you guys. I'm just looking at you and like, oh, I'm slipping into bed for Freaky Friday. But if you're tense, I know how to help. Please, 30, playing roles, taking that mask off, just stepping back and saying, recognizing it. It's going to be the first one, right? Recognizing I'm uncomfortable right now and I don't want to feel like this. I don't have to feel like this. I don't always feel like this, so why do I feel like it now? And so you kind of play it, you can play it backwards, you can play it forwards. Just play into the now. Start to reassure yourself in whatever types or levels of tension or anxiety are in you. I like to sing something that is in the space of where I want to be going or feeling, because that
Mhm.
one incorporates the breath and incorporates the mindset, especially if they're lyrics. I mean, I could just make tones. Ah, just something that gets me out of that moment of that I was carrying all the weight, because I
Mhm.
don't need to. Because in reality, and I'm very thankful for this, that I'm safe, that everything is provided and taken care of. It's a matter of just flowing and getting into that alignment. And I know that the pressure and the wave is coming. So, how can I dance with that wave? How can I flow with that energy? And the more you start to tune into this change or this whirlwind that's around you, you can accept it and not hold on. It's the holding on that causes the tension. It's the holding on to something that you want or expect or you're pushing for or you're like grasping, holding on to. This is a moment of reclamation. This is a moment where all of those things that you thought were are no longer. You can create anything that you want in terms of the possibilities. Then you can start to think about it, dream it up, take action steps toward it. So, um, the anxiety with the body, the first thing that's usually happens is breath tightens, shortens. Um, your body becomes stiff, typically the spine. You're holding back because at early ages we were taught to hold and suppress. We don't even allow fully emotions to come through us. Start allowing yourself to feel. Feel it. It's okay if you're anxious. You have to acknowledge you're anxious to become unanxious. It's okay if you're angry. It's okay to be angry. That's the way you got to feel that to let it through you. I'm not saying go and be destructive or just we love to distract ourselves and pacify ourselves, and we'll eat our. America's good for eating away some emotions. Um, and I was just like, the sad diet. Have you heard of it? Anyway, just being in a space changes it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's my my initial key for that. There's all kinds of stuff I do with the mind to train, because you get to train yourself into being into that positive space. And we can go a little bit more into how to reinforce that at another time, because the mind is a very deep thing. And I know you have you've done so much. She's got such beautiful books and meditations, and I just love working with this woman.
And I love working with you. And I just wanted to, we could, I wanted to add to that is that uh, the breathing part, we hear about it all the time, but it's one of those things that we have to keep on telling you. And this is why. It's because when you are in that tense, now you're flooding your body with chemicals, but it's your internal system. It's chemical chaos. And so then you end up being tense and doing all these things with your body. And what happens when you're breathing and you're just coming back into that moment is that now you're releasing different chemicals and you're forcing your body to now say, oh, I'm going to now self medicate. I'm going to release those chemical signatures by being in tune with the body. It calms it down and it starts to give it what it needs. So a lot of times, in these spaces, we like to talk about, nutrition and eating well and all this other stuff. But before we even do that, just doing some practical things like understanding why it's so important to stop and breathe, those holding and pushing all that beautiful oxygen in and all that stuff, it really does help. So you might think, well, I don't have time to exercise. Well, you have to breathe or you die. So if you don't have time to exercise, that's a self-love act that you can do, is by taking a few moments and stopping, getting some beautiful flowers, holding them if you like flowers, or just like closing your eyes and transporting yourself into that space that you love. If you love the beach or the pool, a lot of people who watch this stuff, they're water babies. We love the salt baths, we love the pools, we love the all these fountains and beautiful things that have to do with water. But whatever your place of escape is, you can escape there every single day and just like, okay, I'm going to go on a staycation for a few minutes and I'm going to close my eyes and be there and breathe and just enjoy the imagination space of that and anchor. And you're going to see such a shift in your body. And it'll actually make you better at everything else you're doing. So whether you're taking care of your children or your home, or you're doing too, because maybe you're working from home and you have your children at home. I know some people like that, so that's challenging as well, because they're trying to have a meeting and yelling at their kid at the same time, sometimes forgetting to hit mute. Wait a minute, quiet over there.
So
So
funny.
take those staycation moments as things try to distract you, because that's the thing, is that's our choice. We get to choose. We may not be able to choose like when it kind of comes in our space all of a sudden, but we can choose how we're going to react and respond to it. And
Yes.
one of the best responses is like pause. Pausing to breathe, to be quiet, to be still is such an amazing power move, because it forces everything around you to hush. Because now they're like, why aren't you frantic? Wait, what's going on over there? It's kind of like for those who have kids, and when it gets quiet, you're like, oh, that's suspicious.
Yes.
It doesn't stop when you're an adult. When everything's in a frenzy and you become that peaceful, still person, everything around you stops. Like, why is it quiet? And it starts to align.
It's one of the things I find is most people have, or at least a lot of the people I know, they brace for impact instead of allowing an emotion to happen. So you can imagine, going up to a child who's having an emotion, and then you're saying, "Stop that. Don't do that. Just calm down. Hold it in. Do whatever you need to do. Just stop." Right? So the kid learns to hold the tension in the body. And so usually this shows itself in back pain and hip pain.
Mhm.
You can start to, just from that becoming your reaction, as opposed to allowing it to come into you. And that's what the beauty of the breath is. It comes in and it is allowed to sweep the body and exchange the beautiful oxygen for that carbon dioxide, which you're no longer using. Those everything that's broken down then comes out. So when we do that on an energetic level, we breathe in, it comes into us, it flows, and it's allowed to exit the body, and we're not holding the energy. Because when you hold the energy, when you hold the tension, you actually create more of it. You attract more of it. So now we're learning. Now we know. Breath.
Mhm.
Breath is one of the most important. Ha, the ha in Hawaii is the breath of life.
Yeah.
So bringing that
And when you think about it, ha, it almost sounds like you're laughing. Walk, getting up and dance like ha, ha. Sometimes you just need a ha, 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 the tension away.
in. As
But
the
thank
goddess ha ha's. The
yes,
tension.
the goddess ha-has. Well, we love you very much. We thank you for being here. We're so grateful for the emails and the messages that you leave for us in the comments, letting us know that every time we post one of these, it's always a right now word. It's always something somebody needs, and that's why we're doing it. Because even if it's just one person and we change the dynamic of someone else's life, you are totally worth it. That's why this was birthed in the heart of April, to bring these to you, because she knew somebody. Ooh, sorry, that was my light. Why are you messing with my light? I guess it's time to go. Uh,
And we're out. Peace.
it's for you. We love you, and we'll catch you on the next Goddess Corner. Bye now.
Aloha.